Today we're talking about a machine that a lot of us have probably overlooked, the Apple Mac Mini. It has quietly, almost secretly, become one of the hottest devices for a super demanding field, artificial intelligence. And in this explainer, we're going to break down exactly how this happened. Okay, let's just dive right in, because this isn't your typical story of a simple product update. We are talking about a machine that went from being, a solid entry-level computer for your home office to something that developers are now seriously calling an absolute monster. And monster really isn't an exaggeration. The new Mac Mini, especially the one with the M4 Pro chip, has totally rewritten the rules for anyone who wants to build and test really complex AI models right from their own desk. So let's get into how. To really appreciate just how big a deal the Mac Mini has become, we first have to talk about the old way of doing things. For years, if you wanted to do AI development locally, you were in for a world of hurt. For the longest time, this was your life if you were serious about AI. You needed a giant PC tower that sounded like a jet engine, stuffed with super expensive NVIDIA GPUs. You were constantly fighting with drivers, complicated setups, and dealing with all the heat and noise. The only other option was the cloud, but that meant paying fees forever and, more importantly, sending your private, often top-secret data to someone else's server. But what if the solution wasn't another giant, power-guzzling rig? What if it was a small, silent box that could just sit on the corner of your desk? Well, this is where the Mac Mini, powered by Apple Silicon, just completely flips the script. Now, this transformation didn't just happen because the processor got a little bit faster. It's the result of a really fundamental shift in the computer's architecture that solved one of the biggest bottlenecks in computing, especially for AI. This right here, unified memory, is the absolute secret sauce. It's the core of why the Mac Mini is so dang good for AI. Instead of having separate little pools of memory for the main processor and the graphics card, Apple just created one giant, super fast swimming pool of memory that every single part of the chip can access instantly. And this really paints the picture. On a typical PC, if the GPU needs some data, the CPU has to painstakingly copy it over. That takes time, it takes energy. With Apple Silicon, that whole step, it's just gone. The data is already there, ready for everyone at the same time. For AI models that are moving massive amounts of information around constantly, this is nothing short of revolutionary. This one single change, as Zach Sadiui points out, isn't just a tiny improvement. It completely vaporizes a major roadblock that's been a part of computer design for decades, making the whole system way faster and more efficient for the kind of work AI needs to do. So we have this huge architectural advantage, right? But what does that actually mean in the real world? What can you really do with all this newfound power? This number, this is everything. 32 billion parameters. That's a seriously powerful, sophisticated AI. Not too long ago, running a model this big locally would have meant buying a server with multiple GPUs that costs a fortune. Now, you can do it on a machine that fits in your backpack. This is what unlocks the dream of a true local AI sandbox. So here's the bottom line. This changes everything for individual developers and small businesses. You get absolute privacy, which is a must-have for sensitive data. You can play around, experiment, and break things without getting a terrifying cloud bill at the end of the month. And you can build your own custom assistants trained on your data that work 24/7, even if your internet goes down. This whole area is just so exciting, and we genuinely love to hear from you. If you've got questions about how to get started with local AI, or if you're already building something awesome, drop a comment below. Let's talk about it. And the Mac Mini's appeal isn't just about running AI models. It's quickly become a favorite for the entire software development process, all thanks to its incredible raw power. I mean, these numbers are just staggering. In CPU-heavy tasks, this tiny little M4 Pro Mac Mini is actually benchmarking faster than the last generation M2 Ultra Mac Studio, a high-end machine that used to cost thousands and thousands of dollars more. That is a mind-blowing leap in performance for your money. All that power directly translates into saving time, which is a developer's most precious resource. Compiling code in Xcode is blazing fast. Docker, which can be a real slug on other machines, runs super efficiently. And for web developers, it just flies. All of this is supported by Apple's own growing set of AI tools, like MLX, which are designed from the ground up to squeeze every ounce of performance from this hardware. And maybe the best part, for anyone who's ever had to share a room with a noisy computer, is that it does all of this while being virtually silent and barely using any power. That's a huge quality of life upgrade that you feel every single day. So, with all this incredible power, how does the Mac Mini actually stack up against its direct rivals in the small form factor PC world? Well, when you put it side by side with a top-end Windows Mini PC like this Asus Nuke, you see two very different philosophies. The Mac Mini is all about that tight integration, the efficiency you get from unified memory. The trade-off is that everything is soldered down. The competition gives you way more freedom to upgrade and tinker, letting you swap out your own RAM and storage. And if you compare it to something super specialized like NVIDIA's Jetson platform, you realize they're not even in the same sport. The Jetson is for physical AI. It's the brain you put inside a robot or a self-driving drone. The Mac Mini, on the other hand, has basically created its own category, the intelligence edge. It's your local, private thinking partner for cognitive AI, coding, writing, and making decisions. All of this really leaves us with a fascinating final thought. For decades, we've basically been taught that power has to be big, loud, and hot. The incredible rise of the Mac Mini as an AI powerhouse suggests that whole idea might be wrong. It makes you wonder, is the future of powerful, private, accessible AI development no longer in some giant server farm, but in a small, elegant box right on your desk? We really hope this breakdown helped make sense of why there is so much buzz around this little machine. If you found this useful, hitting that like button and subscribing really helps us make more deep dives into complex topics just like this one. Thanks for watching.